Yes, that's right. We finally got news about Assassin's Creed VR. It's crazy to realize that it's been almost 2 years ago since we last heard about Meta's and Ubisoft's plans to bring this iconic series to VR. And back then at Connect 2020, all they said was this.
And today, we are excited to announce our first AAA franchises for the VR market, which are Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell. For the first time ever, fans will be able to live these beloved franchises in a truly visceral way. Both titles will be created from the ground up exclusively for the Oculus platform and will include elements of both the Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell franchises that players know and love. We are excited to share more about these projects with you. Stay tuned.
I know, for someone who isn't really saying much, besides it's coming and we're going to work on these big IPs, this was very exciting news for the entire VR industry because AAAs are what sell VR headsets. It's what we need to survive, to get closer to the tipping point of VR going mainstream. And I know that after that they just left us in the dark for a very long time. Even Sam Fisher's night vision goggles wouldn't have lasted that long, trust me. Anyways, the good news is that we finally got more infos on what Assassin's Creed VR storyline and gameplay might look like. So bear with me. According to an article written by Tom Henderson, a seemingly well-established journalist on the website exputer.com, a group of gamers have been secretly playtesting the game behind closed doors. And outside of his report, I have even heard that there is gameplay floating around. So someone is spilling all the beans.
May I see it?
Wait, what's that? It's not so much a design this time, just a series of sketches. What to make of all this?
These sources confirm that the Assassin's Creed VR game is still happening. Thank God, because at some point I thought it was going to be cancelled because we never heard anything about it. And interestingly, it will be titled Assassin's Creed Nexus, with, I think, Nexus hinting towards a potential multiverse that connects the different Assassin's Creed timelines together. Do keep in mind that it's called a playtest for a reason, so maybe this title is just a placeholder and it's gonna be called something else, and that's the same story for the rest that I'm about to tell you. It could change, and trust me, that's not a bad thing, because early feedback can make or break a game. I think what you are about to hear, some elements are amazing, but others are like, maybe they should tweak that first before they start launching it. So yeah, apparently Assassin's Creed Nexus will feature multiple already existing protagonists that we know from the series, like fan favorite Ezio, for example, Connor from Assassin's Creed 3, and Cassandra from Odyssey. What's epic is that you will be able to play as these characters in glorious first-person VR in a variety of different levels that supposedly take place in the worlds we grew up with. So in these levels you get to experience its classic stealth movement, the silent and loud combat, lock and pickpocketing, and you can even do the leap of faith. As of right now, Assassin's Creed Nexus has a total of 16 individual missions and a tutorial that will warm you up by explaining all the controls. I wouldn't be surprised if they are going to use the Animus to transport you to all these missions, as this perfectly blends with the whole VR idea. As it's all taking place in virtual reality, the movement is going to be slightly different compared to the pancake versions of the game. Players can choose between two playstyles or mix them up, with your controller's thumbstick being the main star here. You will be able to move around smoothly, or if that makes you motion sick, you can also decide to teleport. As stealth is one of the key elements of the Assassin's Creed game, they made sure that when you teleport, a detection meter will show up that tells you if you're alerting nearby enemies. Basically, how this is going to work is the further away you teleport from the enemy, the less sound is being made. Of course, playing this with smooth locomotion is going to be a lot more immersive, as it will challenge you to physically sneak to avoid being spotted. The combat in the game, on the other hand, is what you would expect from an Assassin's Creed title, with silent takedowns being the main way to put your enemies to sleep. Your hidden blades can be extracted by holding down a button and then flicking your wrist, which you can then use to stab foes. I think they are specifically talking about Ezio here. We haven't really heard about any other combat-related moments with the other characters, so this is all we got for now. Sword combat is also included, but is fairly standard for a VR game, where Players can swing their sword to attack and defend. Sadly, this article doesn't tell us any specifics about the weaponry, if you will be able to buy them or you will have them straight away, and if the characters you will play have their own skill sets. Also, no news on how realistic the gameplay is going to be in terms of physics. Maybe Ubisoft will stick with its arcadey mechanics, or will try to mirror the current lineup of sword fighting games like Blade and Sorcery. Funny enough, you can actually experience Assassin's Creed in that game by using mods, so if you can no longer wait, then jump into it. Anyhow, lockpicking in the game seems to be featured to extend the longevity of the missions, with some missions having several moments to open up chests and doors. The game was described as being almost like a mini-game in a sense, but actively lockpicking chests and doors will lead to rewards. We do not know if these are going to be skins, weapons or other collectibles, but hopefully they will motivate you to explore every nook and cranny of a level. The fact that this playtester said that it almost felt like a mini-game does worry me a little bit, but more on that later. Stay tuned. Surprisingly, the article doesn't mention anything about the parkour part of the game. Fingers crossed you will be able to actually jump over things and freely climb whatever you want, instead of the game deciding where you need to go next. What does get mentioned is the leap of faith, and I think this is one of the most important elements for this VR stuff, because people want to do this. They want to experience that, you know, epic feature that only Assassin's Creed could pull off, which according to Tom Henderson is an excellent addition that every Assassin's Creed fan will enjoy. So you will stand in a T-pose and then fall off a building into a stack of hay. According to all the playtesters, this is a really cool experience. I don't know if people are gonna actually fall to the ground when they do that, because VR is so real that you might think you can also do it in real life. We'll see. I hope that Ubisoft didn't just add this for the sake of nostalgia to, well, please the fans. I personally don't want this to be just a cool thing that you forcefully have to do once or twice, but something that isn't scripted and actually adds something to the gameplay itself. What's interesting is that the concept of Assassin's Creed Nexus sounds awfully similar to Assassin's Creed Infinity, a pancake game that Ubisoft has yet to announce. So they are working on 2 Assassin's Creed games at the same time. This title is rumored to have multiple historical settings, which seem to be somewhat similar to how Assassin's Creed Nexus will play, but we don't know if they are connected. According to the sources Tom spoke to, the game is set to launch in the next 12 months or so. Now, the big question will be, is it only coming to future Meta headsets, or can we also expect it on the PlayStation VR 2 and PC VR? As far as I know, Meta is funding both Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell, so unless Ubisoft has made a special deal with them that makes both titles timed exclusives, it will be a long time before we see them ever come to other platforms. But hey, it's not the first time Ubisoft has experimented with a VR Assassin's Creed. In 2016, I got to check out a 360 short film made in collaboration with AMD and Alienware, named Assassin's Creed: The VR Experience, that allowed you to kind of dive into the video game. And a few years ago, they released Assassin's Creed Beyond Medusa's Gate, a multiplayer VR experience that you can play with friends at your local arcade. So that is still a thing. You can just, you know, book a slot and hop in. I mean, in general, you can say that Ubisoft has a good track record of VR titles. They were one of the first studios to invest time and money into VR because they truly believed that it was the future of gaming. And nowadays, they're a little bit less invested into it, but still, they are quite active compared to others. They made games like Eagle Flight, Star Trek Bridge Crew, rest in peace, Werewolves Within, and Space Junkies. That one could definitely been pre-released on Quest. Maybe they should still consider that. But the studios who worked on these titles are involved, so that on itself is a good sign for sure. They know the franchise and they know what gamers want. They have even done Far Cry VR thanks to Endreams. I can highly recommend you watching my coverage on that. It's really cool. You can click on the info card above or simply go to my description. I'm not sure about you, but based on this article and our previous experiences with AAA franchises coming to VR, I am slightly concerned that Assassin's Creed Nexus is going to be more of a spin-off than a real big VR game. I might be totally wrong here. Let's hope so, fingers crossed. But the fact they chose to let you play as multiple characters and letting you hop from mission to mission and maybe a timeline or two does point towards a smaller scope of a project, because let's be honest, it would be extremely ambitious to bring all of these open worlds together. So I expect them to use several assets from different parts of each game, maybe the most iconic moments, and then glue those together into a tiny but badass multiverse. I would still love to play that, but I'm sure that after 2 years a lot of people are expecting this to be the next big Assassin's Creed, and I don't think you should be aiming for that. I'm almost sure you will be disappointed. It's going to be fun, but it's not going to be that. Looking at the current state of Assassin's Creed's popularity, it's not like everyone is cheering for a new one to come out. I remember that Ubisoft was completely burning out gamers by launching a new Assassin's Creed every year, and it seemed like they got worse over time. They took a step back a few years ago, so hopefully this will give them time to go back to its roots and make a truly beautiful and epic title that honors what made, well, in my opinion, the first 3 Assassin's Creeds so awesome. So yeah, hopefully Ubisoft sees this as their big comeback. I do want to be wrong, as I said before, about the scope of the game, because based on this article, this is all they got to playtest, and it could be that there is more coming. Who knows? So there is still hope. There is still hope. It could also be that my expectations were and are still too high. Personally, I want to explore an open world in VR, like you could do in every previous Assassin's Creed. Even if it would be a small one, I would take it. Oh yes, I know that even that on itself is still very ambitious, especially in a market that is considered a niche. And with Ubisoft not doing that well, I am a bit worried about their new VR titles. I mean, right now it's not like they make the best games, and the fact they are focusing on NFTs and microtransactions hasn't helped much either. So it would all depend, I think, on how much money they received from Meta, how passionate the team is behind the scenes, and how much tools they get to be able to really make something great, and what kind of game they have been asking for. I mean, Meta must have said, okay, you should create an Assassin's Creed title, but this is the budget, so let's just go for this and that. And most importantly, which audience they want to see it playing. If they want to go for the VR enthusiast, the people who are already on the platform, they have to make a way bigger and more surprising game than when it's for beginners, because those have never touched a game before, so their expectations are way lower. So let's say the budget is quite small and the focus lies on new Quest users, then I expect a more simplified Assassin's Creed VR game that has been cut into multiple chapters. I agree that its gameplay would have to be recreated to guarantee true immersion using VR to its full potential, but it also brings the challenge of how do you make it still feel like an Assassin's Creed title without letting it lose its identity of being this huge open world game. Looking at the success of Resident Evil 4 VR, they could have considered porting over the first or the second Assassin's Creed to make it feel like a title with a bigger budget behind it, to satisfy everyone across the board, so the newbies and the hardcore VR gamers. You kind of play on safe there, I know, but I'm sure a lot of gamers would have been happy if they announced this, because it has a great storyline, remember? It has a lot of content, you are not going to finish it in just a few hours, and you already got your open world with all its secrets and surprises. Maybe in the end, it's not the budget, but the current or future hardware holding it back right now. You could ask yourself, isn't Assassin's Creed a bit too big of a game for a standalone headset? Based on the chipsets we have now, there's not much you can do, but maybe the future ones are going to be extremely fast and then suddenly you can do everything you want. But they are working on it now, and they have to work with the tools that are available at this very moment. That would explain why they went for the concept of different timelines and a handful of missions. Let's hope they at least don't turn it into that Assassin's Creed identity game, that one horrible mobile app that launched on Android and iPhone. Never again. Never, never, never again. You can look it up, but don't even start playing it. I warn you. Okay, so let's get to the point, shall we, and wrap up this video. So what I suspect is that they are going to try to move away from an open world and go for a more Hitman-like formula of missions on smaller, self-contained maps that aim for replayability. I think that would make the most sense, because then you can still put it on a standalone headset and make it fun to play. With this current information, I can just, well, not help myself and think that we are about to play a badass, but more of a spin-off, a smaller Assassin's Creed VR game, a chunk of the pie that will be used to fish hook people into buying Meta's next VR headset for 2023's holiday season. Those people will probably love it, and I don't blame them, because it's their first VR introduction. If I would be playing Assassin's Creed as my first experience, I would be like, wow, I want more. VR is the future of gaming. And let's be honest, outside of the VR bubble, it will be a headset seller no matter what. If it's going to be a good game or not, it doesn't matter. They would be stupid to not slap Assassin's Creed on the back of the box. Just saying. Stepping back into my VR bubble, I just wonder if this will satisfy the current VR enthusiast and the die-hard Assassin's Creed fans. I mean, sometimes it's fine to just be in a small chunk of a game's world, but in this case, one long storyline, a meaty campaign, deep progression system, side characters, and the open world aspect is what makes Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed. So I'm curious how Ubisoft is going to deal with that. Again, this is very early information, and chances are this is just a small portion of a way bigger game with a killer budget behind it. Let's hope so. And don't get me wrong, I want VR to go mainstream. For years now, I have been preaching that if a VR wants to succeed, it needs more AAA franchises, but this will only work if they are executed well and honor what made them so great on PC and console, while at the same time trying new things using VR. Because if you want to get the pancake gamers over to VR, you do have to find the middle ground. The rule just is that you can only launch a game once, and after that, there is no return. I think the best news we can take away from all of this is that there is a playtester group involved, so I have good hopes that they will be able to create something truly amazing. So make sure to drop your feedback in the comments below, because I'm sure Ubisoft will read it. If we can help them out, then we can maybe make sure that it's going to be the best thing ever. Keep your eyes open for more, because I did hear that they might announce something at the showcase that they are going to do this year, some kind of like Ubisoft State of Play. And as I mentioned at the start, there is gameplay floating around. I haven't seen it myself, so I have no idea what it looks like. I did hear people say that it looks amazing, but looking amazing isn't enough. I also want to know how it plays, right? So yes, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to slam that like button. This was a long video, but there is just so much I wanted to talk about. I'm just so passionate about VR. I love it, and I just want Assassin's Creed VR to be this banger title. Content is king. Preach it. So see you later. Until next time, and bye-bye for now. See you in the metaverse, the one that is owned by us all.